there's a new Nicolas Cage movie, and that means celebrations, armpit farts, hand farts, and all of the above. As you know, Nicolas Cage is one of the inspirations over on this channel. And so I'm always excited, especially when it's a well-rated horror movie with Sir Nicolas Cage. And I love the Cage when it comes out. It's like they sit around and they say, who could play an absolutely insane satanic serial killer who's demonically possessed and crank it up to level 10? And then Nicolas Cage says, I could play a demonically possessed satanic serial killer, but it needs to have more satanic demonically possessed serial killer in it. And I'm going to add that because I've got a little bit of a bone fragment in my dress here. I'm wearing a dress to get the full vibe of a satanic serial killer. By the way, I have my own style of acting. It's called neo-shamanic. Longlegs did not disappoint. I don't exactly know why it's called Longlegs, except that it's the name, I guess, that the police give the serial killer, or he signs his name as that because he seems to be able to sort of go about his serial killer business without being detected and being able to walk into all kinds of places and houses and apparently get people to do heinous activities. And I think they had to have probably utilized elements of known serial killers. I think there's a little bit of, Zodiac involved in this because Zodiac probably was multiple people. And if you've read the Dave McGowan book, Program to Kill, he theorizes that many of these cases actually involved, accomplices, and that's something that might be covered up in a lot of these stories. So let's look at the trailer here. Let me put my thespian glasses on. And it stars, as you guys may be aware, Micah Monroe. She was in the movie It Follows, which I thought was a really good independent horror movie. There's a very Dostoevskian theme to that film. If you've never seen it, sort of the dread of your sins catching up to you, or your sins will find you out, as Deuteronomy says. And the screenplay references Dostoevsky quite a bit. So I appreciated that about It Follows. In this film, I should add, by the way, before we get to this film, she also starred with Jamie Lannister in another satanic cult film, God is a Bullet, I think it was called, produced by Jamie Foxx. Pretty dark, pretty brutal stuff. She was in another stalker-ish independent, I think it was a foreign film, that was pretty good. So kind of like Mila Jovovich or Anya Taylor-Joy, these actresses seem to get often cast in the same kind of role. So here it's not so much the MPD, DID, alternate, MK Ultra type casting, I guess. Here, or archetype, I guess you could say. Here it's more so the stalked. There's the stalker and the stalkee. The stalkied girl. And I was thinking as I watched this, like, really the most extreme INCEL is like the serial killer. They're like the most extreme of the spectrum of what that's what every INCEL kind of is. And I thought Nicolas Cage was just an excellent demon-possessed satanic serial killer. He kind of looks like his is just disturbing. I mean, they did this very well. He looks like, I don't know, if Jack White got, I don't know, deep fried or something. Like, he looks like a deep fried Jack White. And we'll look here at some of the scenes in the film. Now, this takes place, I think, in 1988-ish, somewhere in the late 80s. And she plays an FBI operative who is tasked with helping to solve this crime because she seems to have somewhat of a psychic intuition. She's not totally psychic. You know what I mean? She's kind of like I don't know, she's like your standard issue Dionne Warwick or something. You know what I'm saying? She's got a little bit of psychic, maybe a 40% dash of psychic in her. But enough that the FBI feels that she could be significant in solving this seemingly insoluble case. It is kind of a little much violence-wise. But we find out that Cage plays a serial killer who seems to work with or have some network of satanic accomplices. And I'm going to spoil it because, yes, you don't know until the end that the accomplice is, and I think we solved this pretty quick because there's kind of a Rosemary's Baby influence in this film, as well as Zodiac. It's David Fincher-esque, maybe even David Lynch-esque type of a weirdness going on in this film. You could tell that it was, of course, the mom was the one who, from the very beginning, seems to be hyping up her Christianity or her evangelicalism to the extreme, which was pretty much an indicator that she was the one who was behind the cult. And I think that idea of everyone around you and everybody being involved in the cult is probably one of the most frightening types of psychological horrors. Going back to films like Eyes Wide Shut or Eye of the Devil is another good older version of Eyes Wide Shut. So that theme is, I think, it's a very creepy, useful device in film. Now, she pulls out quite a few occult texts, which I think are interesting when she starts to study this group, and she finds out that whoever's behind this is actually using ritual magic. And so you see here what's known as the Lucifer sigil out of various ritual magic texts, and this kind of goes back to the Solomonic ritual magic text, the Keys of Solomon, which I think are Renaissance forgeries. I don't think they're real magical texts, but there are people who believe in these things, these systems, and they think that they can gain powers by these systems. And in this case, the serial killer Longlegs, played by Cage, is a doll maker. And I think that quite obviously the doll maker theme is relying on really intense, hardcore MK Ultra type symbology and imagery, particularly the Monarch programming, where we have children who've been traumatized and sort of put through something that makes them submit to the programming later on in life or when they're triggered. And in this case, the trigger that brings forth the sort of the mind-controlled alternate person in the various girls, or the birthday girls as they're called, is the doll that the doll maker makes. And I think dolls are then the symbolic of the the capture of the individual. So it's sort of like a voodoo doll, you could say. It's like a very primal element of voodoo, you could say, where the serial killer is creating a perfectly image replica of the little girls that he is mind controlling. And he also utilizes a kind of some form of satanic curse. So my only criticism of the film is that it relied a little too much on the hoodoo and the weird metallic ball, which I don't exactly know, and I've studied this stuff pretty extensively. I don't know what the metallic ball inside of the head of the doll was supposed to mean. If you have a theory about the metallic ball inside of the head of the doll, let me know below. It could be just a representation of the capture of the psyche, but when Micah Monroe's mother shoots the doll, that triggers her right into the alternate persona kind of switching on and the mind control kind of kicking in. And she dissociates and passes out. And I think we're supposed to think that in some way this is a satanic triggering, I guess. But that element could be tolerated. It's just that when we come to the final scene and you have essentially this sort of godlike power that her mom and Longlegs possess when they're able to walk into anyone's house, and by giving a creepy doll, it's like it reminds me of these corner dolls that like grandparents used to have, where it's like a pouting doll of a kid in a corner. It's like the serial killer makes pouting dolls, but they're magical voodoo pouting dolls that cause parents to essentially go insane and commit insane crimes against their own kids. So that was a little much. Like, it would have made more sense, I think, if the cult was just a cult and they were using mind control, maybe in the sense of Villeneuve's Prisoners movie, where they're drugging the people that are kidnapped or something like that, rather than the sort of godlike power that the cult possesses. But all in all, it was still a very fascinating and well-made horror film that I think is probably one of the better horror films of the year for sure. And I'm glad to see Nicolas Cage has done well since movies like Color Out of Space and Mandy. But I want to remind you that we do have a show sponsor, and my sponsor is legit. It's too legit to quit.
Chad Mode is your ultimate natural pre-workout, designed to take your performance to the next level. Chad Mode is for Natty Beast alphas only. Whether you're hitting the gym, invading a favela, conquering a small village, gambling, burning the midnight oil, mogging on your coworkers, or getting banned from Facebook, Chad Mode gives you the competitive edge you need. It's as simple as mixing 1 or 2 scoops of our fine powder into water or juice, providing you with a delicious, energizing beverage featuring a burst of sweet, organic fruit flavor. Chad Mode will give you the extra edge you desperately crave. Chad Mode stands out from the crowd by excluding artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, and dyes. We've even avoided so-called natural flavors, ensuring a clean and effective formula. Only soy boys and betas guzzle blue dye and sucralose, further tanking their already low testosterone levels. Chad Mode is made in America. Unlike your common TikTok peasant's pre-workout powder, it does not contain Chinese lab-made caffeine and artificial sweeteners that soy boys so often crave. Experience the pure goodness of Chad Mode with Blue Magic registered trademark organic blue spirulina extract, organic lemon, cherry, and organic